When I got pregnant, I was 15 years old. I never planned to get pregnant.
That decision affects me still to this day.
I was 15 years old when I got pregnant. I had a boyfriend. He was also 15.
At the time of the pregnancy, I was 16 years old and I was in a relationship.
His parents weren't in agreement with us being together because I was Puerto Rican and he was West Indian.
Well, the father wasn't informed about the pregnancy. Unfortunately, he was incarcerated at the time.
It was a big surprise. I didn't know nothing about having sex. I didn't know nothing about becoming pregnant when you had sex.
I was very surprised that I became pregnant because we used protection.
When I found out I was pregnant, I was so afraid that I just wanted to just run away. My emotions were, I can't do this. My life is over. What am I going to do?
It was a combination of excitement and fear about the pregnancy. My plans for me and the baby were, of course, to keep the baby. My mother raised 3 of us by the time she was 19, and she did a wonderful job, so I looked to her as my role model, and I felt that I can do just as good of a job as she did. Well, what changed my feelings were my mother's reaction. I thought that I would have support from her, and I just got anger from her. She was very disappointed, and she did not want me to go through with the pregnancy.
I went to find out about an abortion first, but because I was afraid to get the abortion, I went home and I spoke to my brother-in-law, and he helped me go to my mother and tell her that I was pregnant. My mom was upset, disappointed at me. She doesn't believe in abortion, and I also didn't believe in abortion.
The ending decision about the pregnancy was to have an abortion, mainly enforced by my mother. It was a very tough decision for me because I wanted to keep the baby. I was the oldest sibling of 3 and a disabled brother, so I've always been a caregiver and a nurturer, and I thought that I would be a great mother.
My mom encouraged me to keep the baby, and I also wanted to keep the baby. Life. That was the most influential thing, that there was a life inside of me. And my mother had 10 kids of her own, so I thought I was able to be like her.
I wasn't prepared at all for the emotions after the abortion. It's a guilt that you carry with you always.
When I made the decision to keep the baby, I wasn't prepared for what laid ahead for me and the child.
After the abortion, I was diagnosed with PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, and it is the #1 cause of infertility for women in this country. So for 10 years, doctors told me that I wouldn't be able to have any children. And that's a difficult thing to hear, especially being an early ed teacher, working with children.
I wasn't prepared to be a mom. I was not even ready to give birth. I didn't know nothing about birth. I didn't know nothing about immunizations. Didn't know anything about taking care of myself. So I didn't know what steps to take. I had a baby, and then I lived day by day, not knowing what else to do as a mother, as I was a child myself. I feel I made the right decision. But it was very hard. because I had to learn.
That decision affects me still to this day, even when I ended up getting pregnant again almost 2 years ago. I buried even more guilt that I didn't have my first child.
The vision is that a 15-year-old girl doesn't have to go through it alone. That it's not the end of the world. That there's resources out there to help. There's people out there that can help. And that life doesn't end. It's just a beginning.